A woman calls 911 from the side of a road in Texas. She says she just gave birth, right there, in her car, alone. When the officer arrives, she's frantic. There's a baby, she's begging for help, and for a few seconds, it looks exactly like what she's saying it is. But something feels off. The officer can't explain it. It's just a feeling, like when a story is almost right, but not quite. He calls for backup. Paramedics arrive, she's taken to the hospital, and that's where everything falls apart. Because the doctors take one look at her and they know this woman did not just give birth. Not today, not recently, not ever. So now the question is simple. Where did that baby come from? Her name was Reagan Simmons-Hancock. She was 21 years old, newly married, days away from delivering a baby girl she had already named Braxlyn. And somewhere in the months before that October morning, she had made the mistake of trusting the wrong person. That person was Taylor Parker. And this is their story. To understand how all of this happened, you have to go back to early 2020. Because before October 9th, before any of this, Taylor Parker had a problem, a big one. She was in a serious relationship with a man named Wade Griffin. They were building a future together, and Taylor wanted that future to look a very specific way. So she told him she was pregnant. Not a rumor, not a hint. She looked him in the eye and said, "We're having a baby girl, due in September." Now here's the part that changes everything. Taylor Parker could not have children. She'd had a medical procedure, a hysterectomy, that made it impossible to be pregnant. Wade didn't know that. Nobody in her life knew that. And instead of telling the truth, she decided to keep the lie going. For 9 months, she bought baby clothes. She set up a nursery. She wore a fake pregnancy belly to make it look real. She even let her friends throw her a gender reveal party. And people believed her. Because why wouldn't they? Wade's family had their doubts. Some things just didn't add up. But confronting someone you love with something that big, most people can't do it. So they stayed quiet, and the months kept moving. Taylor had one problem though. September was coming, and she had no baby to show for it. This is where Reagan Simmons-Hancock enters the picture. Reagan was 20 years old and planning her wedding to her fiancé, Homer Hancock. She needed a photographer. Someone pointed her toward Taylor Parker, and from the very first meeting, something clicked. Reagan's sister Emily later said Taylor didn't feel like a stranger at the wedding. She was just there, in the photos, in the group pictures, part of the day. Reagan liked her. She really liked her. And here's the thing about Reagan. By every single account from everyone who knew her, she was the kind of person who made you feel genuinely seen. She didn't have surface-level friendships. When she let someone in, she really let them in. She let Taylor in. The two of them were pregnant at the same time, or at least that's what Reagan believed. They were going through the same season of life together. Reagan even worried about Taylor, felt like Taylor was overwhelmed, and tried to be a steady presence for her. Reagan was checking in on her. She had no idea what Taylor was actually planning. October 9th, 2020. This was the day Taylor had told everyone she was going in to be induced. The day she had spent 9 months building toward. The deadline she had set for herself. And she still had nothing. So that morning, Taylor drove to Reagan's house. Reagan was home. She was days away from delivering her baby Braxlyn. She was resting, waiting. The way you do right before something huge is about to happen. We don't know exactly what was said inside that house. What we know is what Taylor did after she left. She called 911. She pulled over on a rural road. She told the dispatcher she had just given birth. She waited for help to arrive. And when the officers got there, She played the part all the way to the end. She begged them to take her to the hospital. She had even gone as far as tucking the umbilical cord into her clothing. She was still lying, right there, in front of first responders. But the moment she arrived at the hospital, it was over. The medical staff knew immediately. Taylor Parker had not given birth to anyone, and while Taylor was at the hospital, officers responding to a separate call arrived at Reagan's home. Reagan Simmons-Hancock did not survive that day. Braxlin didn't either. She was 21. She was days from holding her daughter. She had spent the weeks before this trying to support the woman who was planning to take everything from her. Reagan wasn't naive. She wasn't careless. She was just kind. And her kindness was used against her in the worst possible way. Taylor Parker was arrested quickly. The evidence was overwhelming. The phone calls, the medical findings, the timeline of that morning. Everything pointed in one direction, and it didn't take investigators long to get there. She was charged with capital murder. The trial happened in 2022 in Bowie County, Texas. And if you think sitting in that courtroom was difficult, imagine being on the medical team asked to testify about what happened to Reagan. Dr. Christopher Mason took the stand. He's a professional. He deals with hard things for a living. But when he started describing what Reagan went through in that house, he couldn't get through it without his voice breaking. He told the court, "It had to be extremely painful. I would not know how anybody could ever do that." A doctor, trained to stay composed, brought to the edge of tears in open court. The jury heard all of it. 9 months of lies, a fake pregnancy, a manufactured friendship, a plan that had been in motion for almost a year. They didn't take long. Guilty, capital murder, death sentence. Taylor Parker became one of only 7 women on death row in the state of Texas, the youngest of all of them. And just because a verdict is handed down doesn't mean the legal process ends, especially in a capital case. Her lawyers filed appeals. The case moved through the courts for years, but by late 2025, the doors were closing. She lost a major appeal in November 2025. And in May 2026, the US Supreme Court declined to take her case. That was it. Every primary avenue gone. For Reagan's family, that news doesn't bring Reagan back. It doesn't bring Braxlin back. But it does mean that the person responsible has been held accountable. Fully, permanently. Right now, Taylor Parker is sitting in a cell at the Patrick L. O'Daniel unit in Gatesville, Texas. She's on death row. The other women in there call her the baby, not because of what she did, just because she's so much younger than all of them. She's closer in age to their kids than she is to them. In February 2025, journalist Lawrence Wright from The New Yorker sat down with her for an interview, and what she said was something. She admitted that for a long time after her conviction, she kept telling herself it wasn't real, that the story people had built around her wasn't the full truth. She held on to that for years, until she saw the autopsy photos, and after that, she said, she couldn't tell herself anything anymore. She told Wright directly, "I do not believe in going home for myself. My place is here." She said being in prison is part of her acceptance process, that she doesn't deserve her freedom because she took something that can never be given back. Whether you believe that's genuine, whether you think it matters at all, that's for you to decide. What I keep coming back to is this. Reagan Simmons-Hancock was checking on Taylor Parker in the weeks before this happened, worrying about her, trying to be a good friend to someone she thought was going through a hard time. She was 21 years old, and her instinct even then was to look out for someone else. She deserved to meet Braxlin. She deserved to grow old. She deserved the regular, beautiful, ordinary future she was building. Taylor Parker made sure that didn't happen, and a community, a family, is still living with that. No execution date has been scheduled for Taylor Parker as of today. She waits. The family of Reagan and Braxlin waits too, but in a different way. Some chapters close in courtrooms. The rest of them you carry. If this story moved you, if you think cases like Reagan's deserve to be told with the care they deserve, subscribing to this channel is the only thing that makes it possible for me to keep doing this. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.